Alright, so today working on the 3 cylinders. So I have a piece of 1x1 aluminum here. I went ahead and milled off one side down to 7/8. So right now these pieces here are 1 inch by 7/8. And how I went about cutting these down is I end milled that off nice and square, measured up. Now these have got to be 1 3/16 overall diameter, so I gave it like 1 5/16 or something. Just gave it a little bit more and scribed it and cut it with the hacksaw. Put this piece back in the mill, cleaned up that edge, measured again, cut it with the hacksaw, put it back in, cut that off, and this piece here will be left over for the cylinder heads later on. So now the idea is to put them all in the mill like this. Everything is nice and flat, and trim these down to the 1 3/16. So that's the plan. Let's get over to the mill and give it a try. Okay, so let's this up. So I got my 3 cylinder blanks in here. Got the machine surface facing down, and got it resting on some parallels here. Snug this up. Make sure they're seated here. Just tripod in the way. Okay. And my concern was this middle piece being tight in here, and it seems to be not a problem. So got my fly cutter, and I'll get these cleaned up so it's nice and smooth, take them out, take a measurement, and I probably can get in there with a mic and measure them and get them down to the 1 3/16 they need to be. So, alright. Touch off on this a bit here, and I'm just going to find a high spot, see where we are. Okay, so let's see if I can get you in here. Got about 3/17, so I got to take off roughly not quite 1/8 of an inch. So come down, I'll take some more cuts, and we'll take another measurement when we get closer. finish I got on there I like, so much better than that finish. So I figured I take them out, measure each one individually, and flip them over and hit it with the fly cutter. There's 9 thousandths I got to take off to bring it down to the correct height. So I'll just flip them over and put them back in the vise and take another 9 thousandths off. So got my 3-cylinder blanks all cut the length size. So I got to lay out several holes here. Obviously we need the 5/8 of an inch bore. There's going to be 4 holes drilled that'll hold the cylinder to the crankcase and the cylinder head to the cylinder. And that's a straight hole going through. And then we're going to have to also drill a hole the full length, which will be the air passage, or steam, most likely air, and so all that needs to get laid out. And I gave this quite a bit of thought on how I'm going to do this, and I'm going to drill and ream the cylinder on the lathe with a reamer in the 4-jaw chuck. But the other holes I think I'm going to lay out with the on the mill, and I would drill and ream the actual cylinder bore itself on the mill, except I need to put this little detail. This got to be like a little plug which protrudes out, and that'll locate the cylinder in the crankcase. So I could do that on the mill, but it's a little bit more complicated. I think it'll be much easier to do on the lathe. So I'll get the lines laid out and try to make that as dummy proof as possible, and we'll get back over to the mill in a little bit. Alright, so I got everything laid out. The holes for the studs, the hole for the cylinder, and the hole for the air passage. So we'll bring these pieces over to the mill and start drilling. So got it set up in the mill here, and I'm just gonna mill in this position here. So I got this work stop, so I could just find the dimensions just on the one piece, and then I'll switch the pieces around, and don't forget the third guy in there. And this is just so rather than clamping it in the middle on the two ends, it'll be the piece will be better secured. So I'm gonna, the layout marks are just for reference. I'm gonna use my digital readout. I'm gonna start with finding the center of the piece in the X direction, and pick up from the cylinder bore, which is 7/16 of an inch in from the back, and that'll be my 0, and I'll lay out my coordinates in relationship to the center of the cylinder bore. So let's get started. Alright, so I think I might have lost some of the video of me using the digital readout, as my battery died in the middle of that somewhere. So so I got a center drill in here. Right now this is in the center of the cylinder bore. So I'm just going to put a small center drill mark in there, and that'll help me locate the center when we get over to the lathe. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'll work my way around and hit all these spots with the center drill to start with. So let's get started. Alright, so I got the 4 holes center drilled, and got a number 43 drill bit in there, and we'll proceed with drilling. Start to drill out the holes. I'll go around to each spot. Okay, so I brought this back over now, and we'll put a center drill for the air passage, and that's got to be a 5/64 drill bit. So, center drill. Let me just pause a minute here. These flutes aren't very deep, long I should say, so I got to keep clearing the chips out pretty frequently. I don't want them binding up and breaking the drill bit in there. So. Alright, so I went through each of them, and all of the holes are drilled. And so now we'll move over to the lathe, and we'll get working on the most important hole, which is the cylinder bore. I'll bring you back after I get it set up in the 4-jaw.